You talk about the dark like it's something to escape from. I stopped running from it years ago. While others lit candles, I learned to see with nothing but instinct. While they trembled, I adapted. The dark wasn't my punishment, it was my discipline. I sat in its silence until I could hear truth breathing. I studied its pressure until I could feel weakness cracking under my feet. And in that depth, I learned something the light never teaches: control. Because when you've built your patience in chaos and your focus in pain, you don't chase stability, you become it. The dark didn't crush me, it clarified me. It stripped away everything that wasn't necessary. The noise, the approval, the need to explain. I stopped asking the world to understand. I started making it adjust. That's what power really is. Not noise, not fear, not rage. It's calm. It's that quiet certainty that comes when you've been broken enough times to stop fearing the cracks. You become your own foundation. You don't shake anymore because the earthquake was you the whole time. They called me cold when I stopped reacting. They called me cruel when I stopped saving people who loved the sound of drowning. Let them talk. They've mistaken peace for weakness their whole lives. They don't realize that silence isn't surrender, it's accuracy. They keep throwing chaos, thinking they'll provoke me. But I've been tempered in worse storms. I don't flinch, I calculate. I don't panic, I predict. I don't fight for validation, I fight for balance. They thought taking everything from me would destroy me. They didn't understand that's where I start. When there's nothing left to lose, every move becomes perfect. Every strike is clean. Every decision is permanent. Pain didn't break me, it organized me. The dark didn't haunt me, it trained me. And now I don't rise for applause, I rise because I'm built for aftermath. I don't speak to be heard. I speak so silence itself remembers who it belongs to. Now they watch me like a ghost story that learned how to walk in daylight. They don't know whether to fear me or follow me. And that's the beauty of it, both are correct. I am not seeking redemption. I am enforcing evolution. I am not a victim of what happened. I am the consequence of it. I am the final lesson life teaches to those who think the dark is the enemy. Because once you stop fearing the dark, you learn the truth. You don't escape it, you inherit it. So go ahead, let them whisper. Let them guess what I've become. They'll never understand what it takes to command something they still run from. I am not what survived the dark. I am what it became when it chose not to die. They still speak your name like it's a warning. And they're right too, because you don't just walk anymore, you advance. You don't rush, you don't stumble, you calculate. You've traded panic for precision, fear for focus. That's what the dark does when you stop begging it to leave. It doesn't hand you mercy, it hands you mastery. You start seeing patterns in chaos. You start noticing the rhythm of destruction, the music of collapse. And then you realize you're not just surviving the storm anymore. You are the rhythm that commands it. They'll never admit it, but they study you now. Every word you don't say, every move you don't make. They used to laugh at you for standing alone. Now they mimic your stillness, trying to learn the code behind it. But what they don't understand is this silence wasn't luck. It was built, earned, rehearsed in suffering. You sculpted it with your bare hands, using nothing but broken promises and long nights that never ended. You trained until pain became predictable, until you could read betrayal like a map, until every scar became a symbol, every loss a strategy. You don't crave victory anymore because victory is a reaction. You crave precision because precision is victory. You don't chase the fight, you define it. You don't pray for peace, you engineer it. And that's why they'll never win. They're still looking for comfort while you're looking for control. They're still worshiping the light, begging it to save them while you're standing in the dark, using it like armor. You've become fluent in what terrifies them. You can see in places they can't even breathe. You've stopped proving your strength. Now you demonstrate it, not through noise but through consequence. Every time you refuse to explain yourself, the air thickens. Every time you stay calm while others unravel, the room adjusts. That's what command looks like. It's quiet, it's surgical, it's final. You don't need their recognition. Recognition is for the weak who still need mirrors. You are the mirror now, the kind that doesn't flatter, only exposes. You show people what's left when their illusions die. And when they ask how you did it, You won't answer. Because there are no words for what you built in the dark. There's only the presence that follows you. The heaviness of someone who's been through hell and started redecorating it. They'll never understand that the dark was never your prison. It was your proving ground. You didn't fight it. You studied it. You didn't conquer it. You merged with it. And now every step you take carries the same lesson. You can't defeat what's already home in the abyss. So let them fear what they can't explain. Let them whisper that you changed. They're half right, you did. You became something that doesn't fit inside their vocabulary. You became the calm they can't imitate, the standard they can't reach, the shadow that doesn't flee the dawn, it owns it. You are not rising from the dark anymore. You are commanding it. And when they see you now, they won't see survival. They'll see sovereignty. They thought you were gone for good. That silence meant surrender. That stillness meant defeat. But you weren't gone, you were calculating. While they were celebrating your disappearance, you were perfecting your return. They don't know what it feels like to train in the dark with no audience, no applause, no promise of light. They don't know what it's like to sharpen your soul in secret until every doubt becomes fuel. You learn to wait like a blade in its sheath, patient, lethal, inevitable. And now that you've stepped out, you don't walk the same. You glide through chaos like it's choreography because you've studied every move pain ever taught you. The ones who used to mock your silence now fear it. The ones who once thought you were too quiet now realize you were listening, recording, memorizing, evolving. You didn't waste your rage on noise, you built with it. You turned every heartbreak into a blueprint, every insult into infrastructure. You've been building an empire out of moments they thought would break you. Now they stand confused, watching their own cruelty become the foundation of your composure. They don't understand how the same darkness that drowned them made you divine. You don't carry resentment anymore. It's too small for what you've become. You carry precision. You carry purpose. You've outgrown vengeance because vengeance requires acknowledgement, and you no longer need theirs. You've stopped caring who claps. You've stopped explaining your method. The results speak in volumes louder than their entire bloodline of excuses. You used to bleed when they hit you. Now their strikes just spark. You used to care about being misunderstood. Now you let misunderstanding work in your favor. It keeps them guessing, and guessing keeps them beneath you. Every person who left you taught you something about structure. Every loss taught you timing. Every betrayal taught you economics, what's worth investing in, what's not. You became efficient in survival until survival itself became second nature. You started breathing in chaos like it was oxygen. And now when they try to replicate your calm, it cracks them open because they don't understand what your calm cost. It's not serenity, it's strategy disguised as silence. It's the aftermath of someone who's fought every version of hell and learned to schedule its hours. They can't touch you anymore because you no longer exist on their level of urgency. You don't compete where panic rules. You exist where precision reigns. You've stopped running from the fire and started working with it, sculpting it, commanding it. The flames that used to burn you now form the outline of your throne, and the beautiful irony is no one handed it to you. You built it alone, with nothing but time, torment, and tenacity. So now, when they see you, they sense something ancient, something practiced, something dangerous. You don't flinch, because you've already lived through everything they're still scared of. You don't chase peace because you are it unavailable, unbothered, unbending. The darkness didn't train you to survive, it trained you to rule. And every breath you take now is a reminder that you didn't come out of the dark, you became it. And that's the part that rattles them. The realization that the very thing they prayed would destroy you is now what protects you. They thought you'd crawl out of the abyss trembling, asking for mercy, but you emerged with a steadiness that silence can't contain. You walk slower now, not from weakness, but because every step carries the weight of discipline, every glance the threat of understanding too much. You've seen too deeply into the human condition to be impressed by masks anymore. You've heard too many hollow promises to ever mistake noise for truth again. You've been cut open by reality itself, and instead of bleeding out, you learned how to stitch yourself back together with barbed wire. Now you don't need armor. You are the armor. They say you've changed, and they're right, but not in the way they mean. You didn't become colder, you became clearer. You didn't lose compassion, you lost the urge to waste it. You didn't stop loving, you just stopped loving anything that required you to shrink to fit it. They call it arrogance. You call it finally knowing your dimensions. There's a stillness about you now that makes people nervous. Because they can sense it, that quiet is loaded. That calm is loaded, that smile is loaded. You don't threaten, you simply exist, and that's enough to unsettle entire rooms. They try to figure out your next move, not realizing you stopped playing their game altogether. You're not a piece on their board anymore. You are the board. The game bends around your patience, reshapes itself around your will. That's why nothing they throw at you works anymore. It's all too predictable. Manipulation only works on those still hungry for approval, and you've starved that hunger to death. You don't chase closure, you close the door. You don't beg for peace, you build it brick by brick inside your own ribcage. And now you stand in the same world that once broke you. But it feels smaller. The walls they built to contain you have turned to dust. Their words bounce off you like pebbles against stone. Their attempts to provoke you only expose how little power they actually have. You are no longer in opposition with the darkness. You are in alliance with it. It whispers to you, guides you, reminds you of what truly matters: movement, mastery, momentum. You've learned that real power doesn't roar, it hums, it flows, it adapts. You've learned that real peace isn't soft, it's earned through endless confrontation with the parts of yourself that wanted to quit. You've learned that survival was never the end goal, it was the initiation. And now that you've passed it, what's left is simple: walk like the storm that trained you. Speak only when silence grows too afraid. Act like inevitability, wearing human form. Because the darkness didn't just shape you, it appointed you. And now you don't rise to escape it, you rise with it. You don't ask the world to understand you anymore, because understanding requires equality, and you left that behind. You outgrew their language, their tempo, their need to label everything they fear. You speak in movement now, in precision, in consequence. Every gesture is fluent in inevitability. Every pause drags like gravity. You don't need to convince anyone of who you are. You let the room translate the silence. It always does. You used to want to be seen, now you prefer to be felt. The difference is everything. They still circle you like moths, mistaking control for calm. They see the surface still, measured, unreadable, and they whisper, trying to fill the silence with theories. They call it luck, they call it darkness, they call it ego, but they never call it what it is: discipline. The kind that doesn't shout its story, that doesn't justify its scars, the kind that wakes every day and repeats the same silent vow: no backward steps. They could never stomach the quiet it takes to become this precise. They would crumble in the patience that built you. And that's why you don't explain. Explanation is for those who still need validation. Revelation is for those who already rule. You learned that power doesn't announce itself, it enters a space and the air rearranges. You've become the kind of presence that bends reality without asking permission. You don't argue anymore, argument is an invitation to chaos, and you only dine with order. You don't retaliate, retaliation is emotional, and you've evolved past emotion as a compass. You operate on principle, not impulse. The irony is beautiful, isn't it? The same people who mocked your silence now beg for your opinion. The same ones who laughed at your solitude now call it mystery. They think you found peace. You didn't find it. You forged it. Through the wreckage, through the sleepless nights where your own thoughts were louder than war. You didn't find balance. You built it on bones of everything that once made you unstable. You turned uncertainty into an instrument. Now you move through life like a verdict already decided. You don't rush to respond, you let time do the talking. You don't crave closure because you learned that endings aren't granted, they're taken. You don't need to win arguments because you already embody the conclusion. You've become what silence becomes when it refuses to die: structure, presence, consequence. You've reached that rare altitude where peace looks like danger to the untrained eye. They can't tell the difference between calm and control, between restraint and readiness. You've learned how to weaponize stillness. Every pause is a warning disguised as grace. You don't raise your voice because you don't need to. The tone alone carries weight. The way you stand says everything. Unhurried, deliberate, composed. They sense the storm under your skin even when you smile. That's what unnerves them most. The knowledge that you could end things without breaking stride, that every breath you take is a measured decision, not a reflex. You've seen too much to be moved by theatrics. You recognize desperation when it dresses itself up as confidence. You know the difference between movement and noise. You've learned that most people aren't walking forward, they're just spinning in place, dizzy with their own avoidance. You don't join them anymore. You step aside and let their chaos pass. That's not detachment, that's sovereignty. You've earned the right to choose what deserves your energy and what deserves your silence. They still try to pull you back into old wars, old roles, old stories. You don't go. You don't need to. Those battlefields are empty now. Ghosts fighting ghosts. You've already claimed the only victory that matters, mastery over yourself. You've learned the art of responding without reacting, of feeling without folding, of burning without turning to ash. You know the terrain of pain too well to ever get lost in it again. Now every morning feels like a small act of defiance, another chance to build, to refine, to remain unbent. You move through the world like a surgeon, precise and cold only to those who don't understand that precision is mercy. Every choice is a cut that keeps you clean. Every boundary is a lesson in dignity. You don't teach through speeches anymore. You teach through presence. People either rise to your level or they vanish in the echo of their excuses. You don't look back, nostalgia is a leash. You don't look too far ahead, fantasy is a drug. You stay in the now, because that's where power breathes. You have nothing to prove and everything to protect. The old you would have tried to be understood. The new you knows that being misunderstood is protection. You've become too real for rooms built on pretense, too focused for circles that thrive on noise. And when they ask what changed, you'll tell them the truth quietly. Nothing and everything. You simply stopped resisting the dark. You let it teach you. You let it train you. You let it strip away everything that wasn't meant to survive. And in that process, you didn't just become stronger. You became inevitable. You don't chase redemption anymore because redemption implies guilt, and guilt was part of the old architecture. You dismantled that along with every illusion that told you suffering had to look pretty. You stopped apologizing for how loud your silence sounds to the weak. You stopped softening your edges for people who only came close enough to dull them. You learned that kindness without boundaries is self-erasure. Now your mercy has structure, your compassion has gates, and your love is filtered through discernment. You don't give yourself away in fragments anymore, you arrive whole or not at all. You've come to understand that peace isn't a meadow, it's a mountain. It's climbed one brutal inch at a time, bleeding and barefoot, with no audience to applaud the climb. And once you reach it, you guard it like a fortress. The view isn't gentle, it's clear, clarity, so sharp it cuts. You can see everything from up here, the patterns, the masks, the cycles. You don't judge them, you just refuse to step back into them. You watch the noise below and smile because once upon a time you thought that chaos was living. Now you know it was just distraction, wearing a cheap disguise. There's a gravity around you now, an unspoken pull that comes from surviving yourself. You don't need to announce it, people feel it. Some call it arrogance, others call it wisdom, but you know what it is, alignment. You finally move in one direction and everything that vibrates lower simply falls away. You don't chase opportunities, they gravitate toward your steadiness. You don't demand respect, your composure extracts it. You don't fear solitude, it's where you recalibrate. The dark taught you that solitude is not emptiness, it's maintenance. The world hasn't changed, but your position in it has. You no longer stand in the crowd begging to be seen. You stand above it, observing. You no longer plead for fairness. You build systems that make it irrelevant. You no longer break your back for belonging. You belong everywhere because you carry your own coordinates. And the most haunting part of all, you did it quietly. No spectacle, no witness, just consistent defiance of everything designed to break you. They'll keep asking how you did it, and you'll just smile because the answer isn't a story, it's a process. One too costly to give away. Let them think it was luck. Let them think it was madness. Let them think whatever soothes them. You owe them nothing. You are not the hero, not the villain, not the victim. You are the equation they can't solve, the balance they can't disturb, the darkness they can't control. And in that truth, you've found what everyone else is still chasing. Freedom that doesn't fade when the lights come on. Like, comment, and subscribe.